Century Superhuman, and I know that the answers are inside. Yeah, I am a 21st century superhuman. Now is the time. Come on everyone, let's celebrate. We are the children of the sun. I can see it when I look into your eyes. We are the same, and we are light, and we are one. Hear now, hear my ancient prayer and sing along. We are awakening as one. And we can make a difference. Yeah, we can be the change it takes to make the world a lot more fun. But if you're feeling kinda down and you need some inspiration to remember who you are, oh, now, child, please don't frown. You can choose a new vibration, and these words can take you far. I am a 21st century superhuman.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Bridge to Paradise on Conscious Consumer Network Television. Back here with me, Kami, and Carrie and Ken, talking about Carrie's landmark book, The 21st Century Superhuman, Living Your Quantum Potential. And we are on chapter 17, Restoring Our True Design of Love. But before we jump into that, let's catch up a little bit on what everybody's been up to. I know you just came off a workshop today, right, Carrie?
I did. It was a great workshop. I was in actually North Tampa at the Unity churches. At least the more progressive ones seem to be really liking the workshop. And it's nice because it's a group of people that are already kind of gathered. So I don't have to go out and gather them from wherever. But it's really good to get out. I do a slideshow and really kind of pretty intense workshop, and people just love it. We had such a good day today, and I'm going back and doing 3 hours tomorrow night, which is the Jedi training without Ken. It'd be fun to have Ken there with me because he's always a good adjunct on the Jedi training for sure.
That's right. Are you gonna bring the tools and bring them outside?
You know, I don't know if I'll do that with this group. You know what's crazy about this neighborhood? The people, and Kami was just telling me, I heard from the people there that the people have their children sleep on the floor at night because there's so many bullets going through this neighborhood.
Yeah, Tampa. People don't know about Tampa and Miami.
We live in Tampa, so.
Yeah.
Oh, you used to live in Tampa?
Oh, yeah, we're at in Tampa.
Yeah, Tampa and Miami have been on the top of the number 1 and 2 and the worst cities in the United States for crime for a very, very long time. People always think of Compton and New York and all of that crap because that's what the rappers talk about. And no, I've never been down an alley in New York or even in Hollywood, LA, any of those places, and seen what I've seen in Tampa and Miami.
Yeah, Tampa's got them all beat. I'm telling you, I lived there, and you know, way back in the day, and there's some things that go on, and
yeah,
Tampa,
you don't want to take a wrong turn in Tampa or Miami.
Yeah, well, I used to be in all those places where the wrong turns were happening. So.
I know, me too, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I've had a colored past. I wasn't doing any of the stuff that I saw getting done, but I saw some stuff that I wish I could unsee.
So yeah, the tools Ken is talking about are the windmill and the windsock, and probably won't take those things just because they're not even really in a church. They're in kind of a little mall thing. So there's nothing outside except pavement. So, but anyway, it's a good group and they're really excited. And
every Unity church I've ever been to is very progressive in their their teachings. They're teaching spirituality more so than they have the Christ word in their name because they're an old established church, and they do teach about Christ consciousness, but they're teaching about all kinds of stuff. The only probably more progressive church that I know of than the Christ Unities are probably the Bahia churches. Which, have you ever heard of them? They're really interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of like many paths to one is Bahia.
Yeah, they study all the ascended masters, all the philosophies. Yep.
Yeah, so it was really a great day. It was awesome. I do a slideshow the whole day, and I mean, it's a couple-hour workshop. I go in and give a little nugget at each church service so people know who I am and what it's about. And they've gotten a flyer on it, and 21st Century Superhuman and 21st Century Superhuman Jedi training. And we had a really great turnout, and I think, good.
I'm glad you're dropping light bombs in Tampa because they definitely need it.
Definitely. I ended up saying to them, so I said, why is there a war in Iraq? This is like after we've been going for like an hour and a half, and they're like, because of something, out in the, I don't know, because of, political stuff. And I go, nope. And I go, and somebody goes, because of warlikeness in me. And I go,
right. Oh, wow.
So they were getting it, that it's our thoughts that are creating this world that surrounds us. And,
like the silent consent is because in some place inside of you, you're consenting to that because that frequency is inside of you.
Right.
If you're a full-on peaceful, loving being, if everybody was a full-on peaceful, loving being, they'd have no one to fight these wars or support these wars. Everybody'd stop paying taxes.
That's right. Clean out the unconscious.
No more robots. There wouldn't be any more robots.
Definitely. Cool. So how about you guys? What's your update?
My day was pretty wild. I spent the weekend with my kids, but had a few meetings with Michael from Evolved Ministry.
Nice.
And the other crew over there talking about some new things that are coming on board.
And we should say 21st Century Superhuman is part of the curriculum of Evolved Ministry, which is an online energy school that you're part of. And we love the work that's done there. We're all kind of compadres.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's some awesome stuff. So we just had some meetings about business and about how we can grow and all the growth that's happening and the exciting new curriculum. And we're just going to release a brand new nutrition curriculum that's going to be starting March 17th. So there's some real exciting things going on there. So I just tell everyone, go and check it out. It's worth the look. And there's some potential it is a membership based school, but there is some potential for us working around that. So we're actually working with some ideas on how we can cut costs and how we can make it more accessible to more people. And where they're at as far as their budgets and what they can do and how we can work things around. So there's just a lot of exciting things going on. And, this is going to be the year. There's a lot of truths and universal truths that have kind of been kept from the mainstream. And we have this documentary that's coming out called American Jedi that should be out here by the spring. It was going to come out earlier, but there was some delays in editing. And so there's been lots of anticipation because literally this is the first movie that actually shows to the world energy practitioners working with energy and how that works. So, I mean, these are like really...
You guys are going to have to make peace with the whole being called Jedi thing at that point, don't you think?
What's that?
You're going to have to make peace with the being called a Jedi thing at that point, don't you think? It's named American Jedi.
Yeah, that's true. And with the new Star Wars actually coming out in this year,
it's already a meme planted in the collective.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's kind of postponed. Is it all? It's weird because the editing was supposed to happen early, and it was like everyone was struggling to get it out, and then it didn't happen, and then everybody thought, oh, well, there's like a few movies coming out this year that tie into that, so they're like, oh, maybe it's just needed to come out in 15 instead of 14. So, everything is in, divine planning.
Perfect order.
How it flows is how it flows. But super excited for this to come out. And once this happens, look out. There's going to be a flood of people. We're really going to see what happens. And people just want to get out and try this stuff. And, you know, I talk to people every day and they say, where can I start? And I say, just go outside. And I give people little techniques. They go outside and look, it happens. They're like, wow, it happened. I'm totally blown away. So this is going to be exciting to have such a large audience get to actually participate in a movie and see this, that it's like true, you know.
Yes.
This is,
and you know, this is something that superstition has been built up around forever in human history. If you have superpowers, which we all have superpowers, we all have this ability to merge with the elements, to bring in the wind, to move the water. I mean, it was so much fun hanging out with you when we did workshops, Ken. And as we've said, we need to start uploading some little clips so people can see what we're talking about rather than just verbalizing it. So we'll start doing that on some of the shows coming up right away.
Yeah, well, some of these breaks too, you know, we will show videos. I think we did one.
I don't know if Biggie has them uploaded or not, but we might be able to play one. He might not because he's been going through a move and a transition too. But yeah, we've got some videos that are going to be used for break.
So people can actually see what we've been talking about. And I know with that Michael Grubb show, we definitely did. So, you know, people can go back in the archives and look, you know, at that stuff and say, oh, what are they actually talking about if you're new to this whole thing? And,
right.
And YouTube, I mean, if you're really dedicated and want to know something, we're all putting out free information. I mean, we're putting out free information right now. If you want the really focused stuff, we do need some sort of energy exchange, because as much as we'd like to do everything for free, we got to eat and live. And until this world is arranged a little differently to where your value isn't recognized by just having a 9-to-5 job, or being a university professor, or any of the typical old ways in which people recognize value. You know, we're working towards getting it to where it can all be free. But right now, there is the law of giving and receiving. And we're going to be talking about the universal laws. I think we're going to do 2 shows instead of having a guest this Friday. We're going to do universal laws broken up into 2 shows, because it's such an important topic. That people understand, because when you know the rules to the game, it's so much easier to play the game. And talking about superhumanism, all these mythical legends that somehow are spanned throughout time and through all continents, even when they weren't in communication with each other, all of these superhumans of the past got written off into mythology. And what it is looking like, and is apparent to most of us now that are experiencing these things, is that was never mythological stories. These were real things that were going on. And this is our true human design. And our other true human design that allows this state of being to happen is living on the love frequency. That is a high vibrating frequency. You become multidimensional when you stay in that frequency. You can even dematerialize.
And when you get into the love frequency, your superhuman powers are more accessible.
Right. Everything is clarity, intuition. I mean, it's a whole other way of living outside of the ego construct. I'm sure we'll get into that in the chapter, because I think you talk about some of that in here. So yeah, it's really important to bring yourself back into alignment with love in all things if you want to master yourself.
Absolutely. Ken, go ahead. What were you gonna throw out?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it is definitely the starting point key to unlocking all of this, and that frequency is really where you want to be. You know, that operating at that frequency and that code line is going to take you right into all the places you want to be.
Yeah, and this is a measurable thing. It's not, you know, hocus pocus. You can actually measure the frequency of all things, from diseases to, you know, yourself and what you're thinking. Carrie has that heart math device that I gave her, that you can tell instantly when you're in and out of the heart frequency, which is the love frequency, which is the highest vibration in the universe. So,
and that is called love, compassion, and gratitude, according to the Heart Math Institute. Ken, would you feel like getting into it all, the 117 code that
the unconditional love code? It's 17.77777 infinity. And that is the actual code, because we can go into a little bit about, we've talked about before, and if you don't already know, this place is a hologram. It's actually like a large computer or like a virtual reality. And so there's applied mathematics, and, everything is kind of set up in code.
Yeah, so it's like Total Recall, if anybody's seen that movie.
Actual code that is unconditional love, and that's that 17-77 infinity. Yeah. And so that code inserted. So if you think of that code, or even say that code out loud, and imagine inserting that code into the matrix grid, you will be so surprised on the result you get. And everything is numbers, everything is mathematics here. Yeah. That's how this place works.
And there's matching symbols. There's matching symbols and sounds to go with that as well.
Mm-hmm. And so everything's the spirals and frequency, and so all these things are in turn code. It's just like binary code in a computer. It's the same thing, ones and zeros, off and on.
You know what you're making me think of is because I just did the 21st Century Superhuman meditation with these guys today, which is in the book. It's in the mind section coming up, but we do that on the show a lot. Speaking of which, we need to record those bowls so that we can put that together soon. But when I go into the field in that meditation and let everything dissolve out of form, we go out of particle form into wave form, and then we merge with the field, and we're flowing with the source field. We become one with the source field, and then we could really implant the 17.777? We could implant that in the source. We could just resonate that in the source field, just as an extra thought in there.
And of like programming, how we go out to a program location outside, and when we do storm work, which is a little thing that you can actually program great things into the matrix through a storm, and that's how we do all of our code work. You can go outside and implant your codes, and there's all sorts of other things, but you can find these things.
I got to tell you guys something. Because I didn't really.
No.
You guys listen to this. This is super cool. So the other night, it was about 2:30 in the morning. I'm totally not asleep. I've been sleeping so erratically lately, just like a few hours here and there. I've been in this big detox this week, but 4 or 5 days ago, there were just these gigantic winds here. I came driving back from the other side of the state, and I get to the west side of the state. There's these huge clouds blowing overhead from the south. Like it's just massive storm, which never comes from the south. And there were just like gale force winds. 2:30 in the morning, there's still gale force winds. And I go, that's it. I'm going outside and I'm going to go work with the energies. And I got out my bamboo poles and started spinning them, and got out my my windmill. That thing was going around like crazy, but I just started playing with the wind. And I started calling in some divine energies that I work with. And I just said, all right, this is it. I'm calling it in. It's time for stuff to start moving ahead. And I just started doing all this clearing work. And it was because I never really heard you say that in storms you can do coding, right? I never figured that out all the time I've spent with you guys out in storms.
It's something that we talk about. We don't talk about it a lot though, because it's more like advanced stuff that you've got to really tap in once you do programming. But anybody can do it. But the storm is the elements are really the key here.
Yeah, I got you.
It's not really talked about, but I could just go into a bunch of stuff.
That's where when you think of the separation of us from our ability to work with the elements because of whatever ignorance got overlaid on human culture, like we just separated ourselves from our ability to really access powerful creation in this dimension.
Yeah, and accessing the elements allows you to go into your creator role even more, because once you come into that other, it's like when you come out of the body and you travel, you realize that there's this dimensional space where you can create, like you can actually create worlds and universes. And so at that level, it's like the element creation of form for planetary, whether you're forming a sphere or a disk. And it's like that elemental create the mastering of elements in this reality in turn makes you so much stronger in these other places, because it's like a diamond. This is like a high pressured place. So people come here to get pressurized into like this solid form, you know what I mean? And so it makes you stronger here. And once you can connect in and realize that these elements are what you're supposed to be playing with and connecting and sharing your energy, it really starts to open some things up.
Okay, so listen to this. Go ahead, Kami.
I was just going to say that's a perfect metaphor, the diamond metaphor, because we are here to learn all of our different facets.
Right.
So, and the pressure that really turns it into a diamond. So I'm doing all this work out in the wind, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. And
can you explain to people, because I can feel them thinking, well, if the wind's already blowing, you know, like that doesn't make any sense to the old 3D paradigm mind. Why? Unless you think of the law of motion, you know, things are easier to move once they're already in motion.
Yeah.
And the easy way to explain this is if people ask you what we're doing, we are not creating the wind or the energy, because see, there's two different forms. There's, first off, you start out with mastering ambient energy, which is energy that is already moving. So what we're doing when you see us working, we're just working with the ambient energy. So we're just locating energy and wind, and we're bringing it and putting it where we want. We're pointing and clicking, okay? Like click on it like a mouse and drag it across, just like a computer. It works. This technique works all the time. So what we're doing is learning how to do ambient. Once you've mastered ambient energy, you can work into energy, which you can work into, God, why is that slipping my mind? Engineering energy. So you can go out and engineer an environment, and that's when you can create it. Like
when it's already moving, you can build it up in certain areas. You can move it to you can move it through certain areas. You can move it through the windmill. You can stop the windmill. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do because it is already built up, and you can build it up more too. I mean, I could build it up more in seconds.
Oh yeah, and that's what you're learning, is how to create it and build in what you want. And the next level of engineering, where you've mastered the ambient in such a way that you can say, okay, I want this much wind, this now, and you put in the code, turn the dials, and boom, it comes on and it stays.
Right.
So, and the next step from there is actually the creator force, where you actually are harnessing creation and create matter out of
you
air.
guys, so listen to this. So what I was doing out there, really, I was saying, look, if these global funds are going to move, it's time for them to move. And because there's been all these little sticky things, and it's a huge thing for the global humanitarian funds to start moving into form. The next day, I had 2 lottery tickets. I went into a store and I handed them in, and I said, can you check these for me? The lady goes, sure. Not only did I win on one, I won on both of them. I won $4 and $5. Like, how wild is that? I've never won on lottery tickets, anything before.
Yeah.
But it told me I was getting a line.
Yes, it's the evidence.
The evidence.
9.
Huh?
4 and 5 makes 9.
Right.
So
it was pretty cool. I thought, oh my God, I've not only did one of them win, but both of them won. I went, there's a message in this. And I was actually talking to some pretty important key energies that were, anyway, without getting
involved in all that.
Involved, yeah. It was very cool.
That would have been a great time. I love when the energy is high and you can, and it really gets, when it really is responsive.
I love that too.
And it gets really easy to move the energy and to drag it around and build it up, and it just participates like it's just your best friend. Like, it's
this is why we're always emphasizing understanding when the forces are ebbing and flowing, so that you're sort of harnessing what's already available out there. Like, pretty much all of the month of February was a big void, and you had to work really hard at keeping the canoe balanced, is what I kept saying.
Oh man, it was like being in the mud.
Yeah,
we could talk about that a little bit. Over the last 2.5 weeks, I mean, from all the people I've talked to, everyone's been feeling this very weird.
Oh yeah, it's been heavy as hell.
Heavy energy, and it's definitely the system from what, you know, we've realized, and we've talked to other people, and we've kind of all corresponded. It seems to be like a general thing from the AI, and it's just this energy.
Well, what's happening is the tidal wave that's getting ready to come. It's all drawing back. It's like when you see a tsunami and all the water just draws back before the wave comes. We're getting ready to get hit with a big old tsunami this month. So.
Yeah. And I would just to say the whole energies of this place and what operates this place is awful nervous right now. Let me just tell you that. It's definitely like, ooh, like
you had to do more.
I experienced this. My vibrations are shifting very high, and this is getting a little not used to this.
Well, we were getting used to just having this set point. My cat is so funny right now. Used to just having the set point and not having to work towards staying in the higher vibrations, and we're hitting a new level now where we have to keep up with the evolution of the planet and what the universe is trying to push us into, and we have to work a little harder at creating a brand new set point. And the collective was definitely freaking the hell out, and those of us who know how to transmute energy were being used as conductors and conduits, like a power plant where they're shifting energy to the different places where it's flowing better than others. A lot of us were getting used as these conduits to help the collective transmute energy. And I would tap in, like, I'd wake up, go to bed feeling great, and wake up and just like, this is not my energy. Like, where the hell did that come from? And depending on different places I was, geographically speaking, like I could just, it was palpable what was going on in the collective. Like people over on the beach were a little bit calmer than people in the cities, and people out in nature definitely didn't have to work as hard around them. But there's been a shift, and if you're not keeping up with your own internal work, it's just going to get harder and harder to stay in the canoe and just like gracefully float through this thing. You have to actually take yourself off of autopilot, check in at all times, take the wheel, keep your hand on the consciousness wheel at all times, because if you fall asleep for 1 second, you will wake up in no man's land, not in Kansas anymore, with wicked witches and people flying around you and flying monkeys that bite.
This energy is not my energy. So yes, this is not your energy. I say again, these thoughts that you're thinking and these ideas that you've had over the last week, these are not yours. Okay.
Right.
This is from the mainstream of the collective. So you have this one stream of like information. So remember, people, to just breathe and relax and just say, this is mine. This isn't mine.
There's sirens going off here as you're talking, Ken.
If you stop and play with those thoughts, though, they very much become yours. So you have to use your free will very, very consciously. There again, it's like it was 3 years ago, where you just, all the work that we did 3 years ago we're being revisited right now to see how we really had it, because we got so used to being comfortable and so used to not having to work at it that it kind of snuck up on a bunch of people. I know I've talked to several people that were like, what the hell? I thought I was over this part. Like, you are over it. You just have to prove that you're over it. Don't play with those thoughts that are coming through. Get yourself back into the love frequency. Get yourself into a visualization that you can tap the field with. If you start feeling unsteady and uncertain and lack confidence and you're getting anxiety, like, consciously choose how you want to feel and reach for the next frequency. You got to keep reaching up until you're there again, and then you'll hold on to it without having to work at it once you get there. But it's not like you can just wake up and be fine every day 24/7 anymore. We're back to the having to find the balance again.
And this is what I was talking about today. This is the 21st century superhuman walk of mastery in this world, is to breathe, to smile, to notice what's coming up inside of us that's out of sync, and to remove that data from our system, because the only person we can really change is ourselves. And we do change the entire hologram when we change ourselves. And when things start feeling out of whack and out of balance, we need to look inside ourselves and see what clearing needs to be done. Breathe and smile, come back to center. Einstein says if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it well enough yourself. It's not that complicated, but it is understanding that we're creators, and whatever energy is inside of us that's running the show, even from our unconscious, has got to get cleaned up.
And the good news is that the work that you're doing now in this ebb, in this void, is going to pay off big time in this next portal we're getting ready to hit. There's a lot of stuff going on this month. We have a precession of the equinox. We have a blood moon. We have the final Pluto-Uranus square, which if you've watched our previous shows, we've talked about what all of that stuff is. And we have a bunch of Grand Cross alignments, and there's just everything sort of culminating into, if you catch the wave this month, you're going to ride it like a rock star for the rest of the year. But if you get on the wrong end of this wave, you might get caught in the undertow. So it's real important as we're coming up to these energies to, you know, keep an eye on the top of the wave, because that's where you want to be.
Yeah, you get stuck in the undertow, you'll just be under for a little bit. You'll pop up.
And you're going to have to struggle a little harder to get out of it. And we don't like struggle. We just want it to be easy. So just do the baby steps to keep it easy before you're deep under.
Yeah, especially like Carrie said, you know, even they really realize these energies are coming in and we're picking this stuff up. But remember to allow it to check your stuff. You know, we kind of want to get in a place where we are not allowing our emotions or this to affect us and react. And so to say that, okay, these things is bringing up this or this, and to be unmovable, you know, and to sit in yourself and say, okay, I'm governing what's going on and not really being taken over by these other energies that are allowing these things that need to be released in you to come up even more. Because what this is, I've noticed personally, is that it's just intensified things that I've been working on. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just made it a little more real. Like, okay, here it is, and it's now coming and it slapped me on my face. So
self-mastery 101.
Right. So, you know, take the time not to just like ignore it or say, but say, okay, what is it, you know, bringing to me? What is it putting in my field? How can I, you know, raise my frequency back up? What can I do to clear what I need to remove from my container?
And it's not enough just to recognize it right now. You actually have to recognize it, stop and breathe, smile, and take the time to think about how you want it to be. You have to program it. You can't just say, oh shit, there's that anxiety again, and then just get disempowered and hope it'll go away. Like, you have to be a conscious participant in what's going on right now. Carrie and I spent some time yesterday working on, you know, trying to shift some of these things that are going on in the world in a really major energetic way. And we could feel as we were doing it, and we were doing it for the purposes of, you know, some of the people that are working behind the scenes trying to correct the financial situation, but we could feel as we were doing it how impactful it was to actually take the time and rewrite the code, like you were saying, and actually tell it like you want it. And, you know, it's time for us to demand from the universe. The universe is just waiting for us to get clear and demand what the hell we want.
Yeah, it's really time to like take action to say that, you know, you can personally make a difference. You can affect what is going on.
Yeah,
you really can. I mean, and like you said, once you get into this code work and you can get in there, you can change. And the more people you get in a group to do this work with, and effectively put your intention two or more are gathered together. This is a true, you know, a true proverb or whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. Group. That's why we were doing that yesterday, because this is a huge group that is working on the focused intention of fixing some really massive stuff in the world. And, you know, when you have the belief and expectation that you're going to be of an impact, that makes you even more powerful, makes you even more in need to be responsible for what you're seeding in the matrix. So.
Yeah, and to really understand that you do have this ability, and that, you know, really release the self-doubt that you can make the change, that you can make the change. Because if you have a group of people and they're united on one idea and one outcome, let's say if you were trying to manifest something or do it, and you had a group of people that believed enough that you could grow, let's say, something out of the ground instantaneously, or you could pick up a real heavy object or whatever it was, you could literally do it with the belief of the group you had. But if you had someone in there that had some sort of disbelief or some sort of self-doubt and said, oh, I don't know if I can really affect that big of a thing, or I don't know if I can make this change in the world, you know,
Right.
that's actually going to take a part. So
Exactly.
I say more like you said, if you have 2 people that have the belief, or let's say 5 people or 7 people that have the real belief and understand that they can do the code work and they can make the difference, wow, watch out, because you are
and stop blaming the external world for not falling in line when you're the one that's holding it from happening. Like you're constant looking outside of yourself, and the thoughts and the attention and the focus and the beliefs and the expectations that you have, and the disempowerment and all of that stuff is affecting what the universe is able to materialize. So take responsibility for yourself, especially if you're being put in a position where you can affect some real change. Like, you really need to stop and take a pause on that.
Yeah, no doubt. That's really good.
All right. So
Should we do some booking?
yeah, I need to go get some water, so I'll be back.
Okay. I'll go ahead and start reading our chapter. We've got 21st Century Superhuman. Thank you, Ken. Awesome. Yep, that's our book. And so we're reading from 21st Century Superhuman Quantum Lifestyle. I had someone come up today and say that
does that look backwards?
No, it looks frontwards. You're just seeing a reflection of it. Looks frontwards.
I'm like, I'm tripping right now.
You know, but the picture on the front of the book is so powerful. We love it. It has a lot of energy. So we're getting ready to read chapter 17, which is Restoring Our True Design Love. And after that is the appendix, which has the universal laws in it. So we're going to go into those as well. So chapter 17, Restoring Our True Design Love. And there's a quote at the beginning by Dr. Richard Bartlett, who started Matrix Energetics. Knowing has nothing to do with thinking, but rather it is a quality found in and throughout the heart. So based in this theory, the less you try to think, the more powerful your outcome will be. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you're really getting that thought base out of there, and having clear thought makes a big difference. People always ask me, what are you thinking about, or what you're visualizing about, or, it's, visualization is good, but sometimes, when you're doing energy work or you're working on things, it's really that clear thought, or that, like, it's like where you fall into that certain place. It's like you allow yourself to, like, tap into this, like, solitude mind, and it really clears things up to where it's like, okay. And, when you don't force it, people always say, oh, how do you do telekinesis, or how do you move the object, and people are always straining, and it's really in a release and allowance and a clear thought mind, and just letting the energy flow and watching it go. And
that's where I found the heart math monitor. I could go into heart coherence when I'd let go of the mind. Even if I'm trying to program something good, when I let go of the mind and just go into the field, allow myself to go out of form into the field. And I think that's that whole element of, excuse me, the heart is 5,000 times more electromagnetically powerful than the brain. So when we get out of the brain and into the heart, there's a really big, powerful
that heart
quantum.
Yeah, no, sorry to interrupt you, but no, that heart space is really key. And people, once we activate the third eye, we really need to tie that to the heart. And that's where we need to come from and kind of stay, from that heart space.
Well, that's the Holy Trinity that all ascended masters and enlightened people are seeking, is that mind, body, which, it's more like mind, heart, and spirit. But there's different ways you can look at it and dissect it, but that is what we're all trying to achieve. Yeah. And this is why understanding the laws is so important. The law of allowing is one of the most important universal laws that you have to understand to become a mastered being and a master manifester. Like, without it, you can't align with anything. So tune in on Friday and Sunday. We'll be going over all of that stuff.
Yep. So the divine, did you want to say something else, Ken?
No, I said tune in for that one.
Yeah. The divine matrix or field can only mirror to us what we give it with resonance with resonance of our attention, conscious and unconscious. Hence the golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Our resonance, excuse me, our resonance returns in like kind what appears as reality.
Now, I want to interject something there before you get away from that, because there's this very all-consuming collective belief system that good people get dogged all the time. And like, if this is true, why do people that are constantly doing good for others ever get treated wrongly? And that goes back to the conscious and unconscious thing. So we have a lot of programming that we're not necessarily conscious of. And
That's
if
right.
you're getting information mirrored back to you that isn't really what you were thinking or how you behave, you are for sure dealing with some stuff that got programmed into you either through subliminally through the collective or through your childhood. A lot
of generations.
Yeah,
and Harvard studies say that's 95% of our thought is that unconscious programming. So
right. So people have a hard time of seeing the correlation. Like, obviously, if we could see the correlation instantly between our thoughts and what is manifesting in our reality, we would have been onto the game right away. The game wouldn't have been as fun. There would have been no game. And that is happening now, because that is the age that we're moving into. Is going to be no game. Like the only game to be had is how superhuman can I get? But that's been the game of the past. There's a time buffer between your manifestations that's getting smaller, but in the process, all of that feedback that you're getting is cues for you to clean up your unconscious, your subconscious programming. So just because you're constantly doing good all the time, if you're acting one way, having, positive actions, but in your mind you're like, that dude's a fucking asshole and I can't believe he acts that way, I'm so nice and kind and this and that, and like the only space you're creating is the space for him to constantly show up as an asshole. Like, that's all you're doing. So, it comes back to the whole forgiveness, compassion, and how do you have forgiveness and still have proper boundaries? Like, you can do that. You can forgive people for their imperfections, but still hold them accountable for the lack of reciprocity in how you're behaving and how they're behaving. And you do that from a very grounded and centered space, not from a judgmental space, not from when you first start stepping into your power like that, you'll start getting shaky, because it's so different from how you've always been. It's almost like you're getting into a fight. Your adrenaline starts pumping, your voice starts shaking because you're coming up against your own resistance and the resistance around you. But eventually you'll find the more you stay in your heart, the clearer you get, the easier it is to be empowered and hold your space without anybody affecting you, no matter how they're acting. They could be acting completely like a lunatic holding a gun to your head, and you can still be in the love frequency, believe it or not.
Yuppers.
Yeah, it's like the unshakable. Like, you can be at such a vibration that you could walk through the worst place where people are shooting each other. Like Tampa, I could go walk through Tampa, the worst street, and literally not be affected. Like, they would actually walk back in their houses as you walk down the road. I mean, I've seen this happen. It's because your frequency, they don't even recognize you being there. You're literally invisible.
Yep. I had someone push me towards a gunfight at a parking lot at a club in Tampa one time. And I remember I wasn't scared at all, but all my friends that were there were like, that dude just fucking pushed you towards the guy went in his car, got the gun, and started shooting. And in the flight or flight panic, I got pushed into it instead of away from it. And I just calmly stopped and started walking the other direction. And this was before I really understood all this stuff, but I've always just innately known that I had that power. And I was never scared of things that normal people were scared of. I could be put in any situation. I remember being on a plane when I was younger, and we hit such serious turbulence that stuff was falling, like luggage was falling on people's heads, and the people were having panic attacks and freaking out. And I'm like 7, 8 years old, like calming everybody, like it's all good. Yeah. So Yeah, it's like you got to have that larger vision, that deeper connection to where you feel safe and secure, and you can trust in what's going on, because it's all about you. It's not about what's going on outside of you.
Yeah, there's actually a great video that I just remembered. I can't remember where I found it. It was online somewhere, but it was these guys. You could probably research it. But these guys were sitting in this pub or somewhere, and it was in Europe, and it was like busy, and all these masked men came in. It was like this restaurant area, and there was like 15 of them, and they came in and they went by the register, and then all of a sudden they started attacking people, and they were like attacking everyone. And these two guys like just sat at the table, and they're like drinking their beers, and the camera's on them. You can see them, and they're just sitting there looking around, and this is all people are running everywhere, and all the guys like come out, and they literally come right around their table, and they like hit someone else, and then walk out. And his buddy ended up standing up and just standing there, and then they got up and just stood there. Other people walked around. Then they kind of walked around and looked at what was happening like in the restaurant, and then all the people like walked out, and then they just walked out of the restaurant like all nonchalantly. It was funny. They had their reaction was so not everyone else. Everyone else went
right, and it freaks people out too. Like especially the ones that are perpetrating. It freaks them out when someone gets in front of them with an abnormal reaction like that. I used to love messing with bullies because they just never saw me coming.
You know, and most people, the average person is not going to end up in those situations, but those are great metaphors for when something is difficult in life. If we can just stay clear, stay in that no mind state, stay in our center, breathe and smile, we end up pulling in an entirely different frequency.
Yeah, an entirely different experience, not just for us, but for everybody that's in our energy field.
Exactly right. Yep.
So
when we're in heart coherence, we activate other people to heart coherence.
Yeah, it's entrainment, and you can actually entrain to the love frequency as well. It's 528 hertz. Look it up on YouTube and just start listening to songs that are tuned to 528. Right. Eventually, all of our music will be tuned to this frequency. Right now, it's tuned to something different because they want to keep us in chaos. But eventually, everything will be tuned to a frequency that's more harmonious with the vibrations that we're wanting to exist on.
I love 528 frequency. Yeah. It's a great frequency.
It is. It's good stuff.
Okay. Our resonance returns in like kind what appears as reality. Rather than being a rule to punish or direct us, this is simply an explanation of how creation operates. As much as we'd like to squirm and say, really, part of it has to come from someone or something else, the bottom line is it all begins and ends with us. Our world is a giant biofeedback loop responsive to the tuning fork that we are. As we learn to hone thoughts and emotions, conscious and unconscious, to love, our reality changes, and so does our world.
Yep.
Deepak,
people are wondering, like, how do you practically apply these things? Like, what's the first thing you do? What's a good thought or a mantra or something to have to help you pivot out of these situations where your monkey mind is constantly reacting to stuff? And
I'd like to tell.
Go ahead.
I just like to tell people the first thing you can do is just the easiest basic one is treat people how you'd like to be treated. You know, and think about how would you like to be treated in every situation? Would you like to be drudged? Would you like to be hurt upon?
Exactly. And not just from an external standpoint, internally. So if you're treating people kindly, but then you have this other intention inside of you where you're actually judging them for being imperfect, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about.
The thing is, that is universal law. I mean, treating others as we would like to be treated, but doing it with our entire being, and not, as you were saying, Kami, some covert other unconscious thing operating.
Which is how a lot of us are, because we were taught in kindergarten, that rule, and so a lot of us adapted it externally, but internally very much not so. So they'll get on the phone with their girlfriend, and then they'll tell you how they really feel. So if you're a fly on the wall, you'll get to really hear what's going on in your thoughts. So pay attention to the people you're closest to in your life and the conversations that are going on there where your filter is dropped. because how you're acting with strangers and how you're acting with them will be very telling. If the way you're talking about the strangers is the same way to their face that you're talking to the people that you tell all your deepest, darkest secrets to, then you're probably pretty coherent. But if you're acting one way to your coworkers and then going home and telling your husband what a bitch somebody is, you got a situation you need to deal with there.
Yeah, I call it the masks. You know, I mean, I hate to say it, but I really, I guess, first time recognizing it was the church and seeing all the masks that people put on. And people, I'm sure everyone has a story about, you know, their mom saying, oh, act this way or don't act this way, or seeing their parents act one way at church or one way around a certain friend and then another way, and how, or you hear your mom talk about this person, or, you know, and this whole smile and then I'm going to stab. And it's really, it's a mind game, because a lot of us get caught up in the mask game. I even did. I was great.
Everybody did. We've all been programmed with the same program here.
Yeah, and so you make it easy to put these masks on to react this way, but you really got to just clean up how you're thinking and how you know, it's just really getting out of, you know, what we talk about with clearing these things is judgment. You know, we love judgment and we love the gossip, because gossip is bringing other people into our reality. See, and we always want to bring someone else into our illusion or our delusion. So we gossip, or we do these things and mask out so we can bring people into our hallucination. And so this is all illusionary. It's illusion. So
well, and there's different degrees of, you know, being in that hypocritical state. So you have people that are actually acting out in mean and angry and bitchy, uncomfortable energy kind of ways. And that's one degree, but you turning around and perpetuating that energy by complaining about it and blaming them for it and deciding that they're a worse person than you because they were having a bad day or whatever, any way that you're feeding negative energy puts you on the same level, whether you're acting it out or not. You're still attracting it into your experience, and therefore it is part of your creation. You are helping to keep that creation alive.
And this all goes back to our cultural matrix, which is blame, fear, hostility, judgment, and control, and the survival mechanism within that. So as we begin separating ourselves from that survival mechanism and coming into love, where we know that this flow of existence and consciousness is continuous, then we begin exiting, you know, having to do those things anymore.
And we say this all the time. If you don't believe us, just try it. Just see what happens when you change. Just decide for 30 days. You're not going to say one bad thing about a person. Getting it out of your mouth means that you're definitely thinking about it. If it's coming out of your mouth, you probably had 10 to 100 thoughts before it actually came out of your mouth. If you're talking about it all day long, that's probably 1,000 thoughts that you're feeding with your vocal power. So the first step is the first step is to stop letting it come out of your mouth. And then the next step is to start monitoring your mind and seeing how much your mind is playing into this, because wave is matter. Wave and particles are both matter.
Breathing, smiling, and being in love.
Yep. So sending someone, you know, compassion when they're, you know, if they're acting out, they've got pain inside of them. And if they were screaming because they had their finger cut off, you probably wouldn't call them a bitch for that. But emotional wounds are the same thing. So just think about that when somebody's acting out. They're just acting in pain.
So Deepak Chopra says in the Book of Secrets, Unlocking the Hidden Dimensions of Your Life, never forget that you are not in the world. The world is in you. Creation is set up to bring you constant hints and clues about your role as co-creator. Your soul is metabolizing experience as surely as your body is metabolizing food.
Yep, and so is your subconscious. It's taking in everything going on around you, and every thought you're not consciously thinking. It's storing it.
When reality shows up around us, we now say, very interesting what my vibration drew in today. Is there anything to clear to bring my reality more into alignment with my heart? Noticing what comes up with others or events of the day offers clues as to residue that may cling to our crystal core of love. To clear, cancel, release, let go, as it appears and surfaces. In coming chapters in this series are super clearing tools for the 21st century superhuman to transform self and our world. The more we practice these habits, the more natural it is to experience self in our own continually emerging creation, and by response of our reality, learn where we need to reset to love. As we shed old layers of blame, fear, hostility, judgment, and control, the loving radiance we are beams through and literally transforms reality, showing up around us as our true essence shines in the world from the heart. Joseph Campbell, who was the mythologist behind the Star Wars series.
George Lucas is the one who did Star Wars, just FYI there.
Joseph Campbell is...
No, I know, but you wrote, underneath that, you wrote Steven Spielberg. It's a misprint.
Oh, thank you.
I felt Star Wars fans turning over in their graves and on the planet.
You know what?
Oh my gosh, it is. It's funny.
It is. Thank you. I don't have a pen. I'll have to mark it later. The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are.
You know what's really interesting about what you're about to read is this movie Dark Crystal came up in our show on Friday, where we were actually talking about a guy who's figured out the creation formula. So Ken was talking about the different levels of harnessing the elements. So this guy actually figured out how to harness the plasma in the air that's created from the electromagnetic fields that actually converts things into matter. And so we're having this conversation here, and I've never heard of this Dark Crystal movie before, and now I've heard it twice in 2 days. It's on my radar.
Oh my gosh!
Oh yeah, you've never seen that old classic?
Mm-mm.
And
I'm a big Jim Henson fan too. I watched all the Muppets 20 times over again.
Dark Crystal completely changed the course of my life, because I mean, I can still remember when I saw it years ago, and it was like, oh my God, darkness and light are part of the same thing. They're two sides of the same thing. And they came and merged together and became these masters that walked off into the sunset. Yeah. And my entire cognizance of reality shifted with that movie.
Well, and that's what all of this stuff and the work we're doing, it's all about helping people reset. And so, the more
all about integrating the two, like walk and they merge into one. It's the integration of that, the balancing, and moving out of this duality, polarity into oneness and balance.
Yep. So the Jim Henson movie, The Dark Crystal, 1987, contains great symbology for our now. Jen, a Gelling on a quest to restore balance in his world, is returning a crystal shard broken off 1,000 years ago. Mystics, masters of the light, and Skeksis, masters of the dark, suspensefully journey to the chamber where the powerful crystal resides. Jen and his friend Kira survive death-defying odds to barely get there by the conjunction of three suns. The dark Skeksis prepare to receive uncensored immortality, obtainable only during this conjunction if the crystal is not restored. Jen risks his life to valiantly return the shard to the crystal, unifying it just as the mystics plunge into the chamber. Our minds are blown as the mystics and Skeksis merge into one as tall, glowing beings. They melodically resonate this as we they melodically resonate this as we realize darkness and light are part of the same, neither good or bad. Two polarities that hold duality in form have many representations: dark, light, day, night, yin, yang, positive, negative. Such opposites create and charge, holding creation in form. Experiencing our own darkness or shadows surfacing to merge with our light leads us towards wholeness, restoring our true design love. Even experiencing darkness or that which we don't want is the perfect way to discover our light. Without darkness, how would we know what light is? And that's from Legend.
I think the reason I was purposely not allowed.
Did you just say? Hold on a second. Did you just say the movie Legend?
No, she said that's from the legend.
Oh, I said, it's from, isn't it from the movie Legend?
Oh, I don't know. You just put legend at the
Right.
end of that.
That's what
It's funny that you just said that, because I actually was going to bring up that old movie too, which is kind of a crazy symbolic type of movie.
Yeah.
Like it's like had Tom Cruise like way back in the early 80s or something.
Without darkness, how would we know what light is? It's from that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you're reading this, I'm thinking when I was younger, I haven't really talked about my history a ton, but I was like really hyper office every single day.
You're gonna have to repeat that. I think we lost you.
Yeah, I got a notification and it froze Zoom. I was super hyperactive as a kid until I was about 8 years old. I was like bouncing off the walls, couldn't take me out in public kind of thing. And I was a big time boundary pusher, but I understood all of these deep philosophical movies like Star Wars, all of these things that
we're not surprised, Kami.
Yeah, well, and most of the things that people
sounds like my history.
Well, and so as I'm reading this, I'm like, that's why I was not allowed to see this movie, because I was already so into pushing boundaries to see what would happen that if somebody would have told me darkness and lightness were the same thing, I mean, I was always a good soul and good to people and understood that whole energy exchange. But I think if that seed would have been planted in my chaotic little mind at that time, when I was just like wanted to see what would happen if I touched fire or whatever, that would have might have been a bad thing. So I'm gonna have to watch it now that I understand all these things. Now when I understand shadow work and how this all works, it's not saying that dark people and light people and their behaviors are the same, because there is something to be said of karma. All those people that are committing dark acts are going to have a ton of karma to pay back, but underneath all of that, they're just like us. They're deserving of the love, just like us.
When something comes up, smile, breathe, and say, "Ah, so I did it again." Notice and return to love. This is the journey of enlightenment or awakening. Simple as it is, it's not about beating ourselves up because we're not perfect. Everything changes the instant we do. Creation is in a continual, magnificent state of emergence based on vibration.
Enlightenment, let me do the quantum breakdown of enlightenment.
Please do. That would be great.
So the light energy is the high vibrating energies. And there again, it's all measurable by frequency. But when you break that down into the Latin roots, it's being in a mental state of light. So you're in a mental state of awareness of the higher energies and all of the laws and effects.
Wow, that is super cool. Thank you. Yeah. Very good. So Einstein says there are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle.
Did you skip over my favorite little meme, which is everything changes the instant we do? This is my new favorite meme I'm going to start planting in everybody I meet when they start complaining or getting outside of the love frequency.
Right. I didn't skip over it, but it bears repeating.
Yes. I think I stopped you at the we're not perfect line.
I think you did skip it.
You did.
No, I did.
That's okay, because I needed to highlight it. So go ahead and read that whole part, because the next line didn't get read here.
Simple as it is, it's not about beating ourselves up because we're not perfect. Everything changes the instant we do.
Yep.
Creation is in a continual, magnificent state of emergence based on our vibration.
Right.
Woo-hoo, that's good.
It is really good.
Vibration. It's all vibration and frequency. This is all light, everybody. Everything around us is light.
Yeah.
People, you got all this light worship out there. It's like, what are you worshiping? Are we going to worship this couch that I'm sitting on? Well, that's made of light. I'm made of light. We're all light.
Everything.
It's all levels of light. So just like Carrie said, it's like learning to tune in those higher frequencies of light.
Yep.
But it's all just light.
Everything is energetic frequency patterns. All creation is. And it shifts. The second our thought shifts, we shift the creation around us.
You know, you have a great Nikola Tesla quote in the Universal Laws chapter that kind of just fits in perfectly with what we're talking about right here. So I'm going to read it.
Okay, go ahead.
You want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. This is one of the greatest minds to ever walk the surface of this earth. One of the greatest scientific minds to ever walk the surface of the earth, saying, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, just tune into the energy, frequency, and vibration.
What about this? This guy was so on top of it that he stated in like his early work that in the future we will have access to communicate the distances by a device we will hold in our hands. The cell phone. You know what I mean? This is like 100 years ago. This dude's like, oh yeah, I know what's going on. And once we realize what's up, that's going to,
oh yeah.
Well, a lot of the technologies that are coming out now are all of his technologies that were suppressed. So we're about to move into the age of Tesla.
It's wild to think about what this reality would actually look like.
Oh yeah.
If he would have gotten to actually implement all of his.
We're getting ready to get to live the implementation of it, which I got chills just thinking about it, because coming into a world that's already perfect, the game's not quite as fun. It's like going to a movie where you already know the ending. You know, we're on a roller coaster right now, and so we're all the better for it.
Hang on.
Good.
Put your seatbelt on.
Yeah, that's right.
We came in at the perfect time to get the maximum ride out of this game.
That's why everyone's trying to come in right now, because this is the time.
Yeah. So if you're ever not feeling confident, just know if you're here, you're freaking important.
Our most native vibration is love. And what I was saying at the workshop today, and I always say, is we have to get the spitwads off our movie projector. We're designed to be a movie projector of love. And any old data we have that is this, blame, fear, hostility, judgment, control, they're just spitwads on our movie projector. They're keeping that pure love essence from flowing through. So clean it off.
I love this next insight. This is you wrote this, and it's brilliant.
All else is a natural response of body, mind, and spirit to notice what's in the way of this ever-flowing current of life.
You just skipped the first line again, though.
Well, I just read it.
Oh, okay.
I'll start over though. I read it.
What?
Without the first line, it's all out of context.
Okay.
I want the whole thing.
I read it before the movie. I said it about the movie projector.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our most creative vibration is love. All else, excuse me.
Did you say creative?
Our most native vibration.
Our
most native vibration is love. All else is a natural response of body, mind, spirit to notice what's in the way of this ever-flowing current of life.
Right. So you feel perfect when you're in that love frequency.
Yes.
Everything else outside of that is when you start having the other stuff, the other experiences.
That's right. Whatever we think we see in others is mirrored back from us, including love and ecstasy. As we let go of old data that has been running the show, things shift. New motivations from the heart make us more awake and present. We are better, kinder, more thoughtful to others, and are also truer to self. Offloading all thought, emotion, not of love, we find better solutions, become more intuitive, and speak and live in wisdom from the heart. Good things come our way. We remove ourselves from chaos and simply through shifting our resonance internally, become active participants in calling in a better world. How simple is this?
It really is that simple too. And people think the chaos is good. The drama is interesting. That's why they watch reality shows. But I have to tell y'all, there's nothing funner than living in a frequency where the solution comes before the problem, where the clarity comes the instant the confusion shows up, and or there's never any confusion, depending on how constantly you can stay in that flow. So to make it even more simply, ego yields uncertainty, confusion, competition, power struggles. And then you've got the heart space, which is yielding complete clarity, complete cooperation, complete reverence for everybody that you're dealing with. All the people in our tribe are completely reverent, respectful, funny, fun, no drama. I mean, it's just like, it's a
Living
whole
in the
other,
heart.
yeah,
It's because they've all made the choice.
And
right.
just like you said with the ego, living with that under wraps, you're not gonna, the one thing is like a pet peeve is like when you're speaking with someone. Now, sometimes it's hard on these radio things. We sometimes cut people off, but it's one pet peeve of mine that when we're in a discussion and we're talking, you should always let someone finish. You should always let them have, you notice that friend you might have, or that someone out there, that person that always has to talk, or they always cut someone off and say, oh no, I got this one, or I always try to one up it. And they, that you see that happen. And it's funny because in our group, there's kind of that respect that you said that's already going on with this larger group that we're in contact with. And it's just so refreshing to see because, it's something that we deal with all the time is people get real caught up in wanting to interrupt or really want to get crossed. And it's like, when we can have respect for each other and realize, who each and every one of us are and the oneness between us all, you start to realize that you would like to get what you have to say across. So
it's not coming from a power struggle place is why it's not as annoying as when other people are doing it. I have a family member who was raised youngest child, never got heard, and just has a very bad habit of constantly talking louder and interjecting in order to make sure they're heard. And it's not even a conscious thing. It's not even a disrespectful thing, but it is very much got a power struggle energy behind it. And it's very ego, not heart coherent kind of thing. And we have an issue with body language here where we can't, if we were in the same room with each other, and when we are in the same room with each other, it flows a little easier. But we have a hard time with the body cues over the internet, the digital body language, which is like 95% of the language we're speaking. And sometimes, like we need to start like raising our hands or something. I've been noticing people doing that in some of the shows. And I think that works too. But just being in the heart space allows it to not be an annoyance when, little things happen. People can make a mistake and get called out on it. And it's not like that person just made me look stupid, or there's just none of that going on.
The thing too is so many of this tribe, we'll call them this group of people, a big flowing tribe of people that we're connected with. We've all chosen, I think that stepping out of the matrix, the biggest part of that is choosing to step into the heart and choosing to step into living from love, from the truth of our being too, because when we're in the heart, we're honoring ourselves as well. So we're not in this constant pressure. I'm doing all these things I don't want to do. I don't like my life. Instead, we're in the heart and we're saying, I'm living the life that I love. I love myself. Right. It's easier to honor and respect you when I'm coming from that place.
Well, and when you're staying in the high frequency, you get high frequency experiences. So when you say I want to live easily and effortlessly, and I want things to just come to me, and I don't want to have to work so hard for them, and I want cool people around me, and like all of those things exist on the higher frequencies. They don't exist on the lower frequencies. Low vibrating experiences exist on the low frequencies. So when you raise your frequency, which is done through heart coherence, you just naturally get shot out of the matrix, not just you don't get just to walk out, like you get pushed the hell out because you're just not matching that vibration anymore.
True.
You totally change your world. You actually shift into complete parallel reality.
You do.
My life, I personally did, and it is beyond unbelievable when it actually happens.
Yes.
I mean, you think you're going to be turned on. You will turn on when this happens. When you discover how you can obtain this reality and you can shift your whole paradigm and completely, as crazy as the world is, I shifted my whole world.
Yes.
Reality changed. Everything is different. I don't even talk to the same people I talked to, a year and a half ago. Literally everything changed when I really dove into say, okay, I'm going to make this reality different. I'm going to make the change. And it's beyond real.
And it's beyond satisfying too.
Yeah, and what you're talking about, Ken, is you changed yourself internally. Mm-hmm. So, and as a result, everything around you shifted. And I see that in my world as well. It's that shift ourselves, on the inside, shift the entire hologram, shift the entire creation around us, how people relate to us, because we've just shifted ourselves.
Everything changes the instant you do.
That's
I'm gonna
right.
keep saying it.
Saying it. You should make a little something and type it up.
It's my new favorite meme. Yeah.
What we need to do is we need to start making those. We need to start taking pictures and putting these memes on them and putting 21st Century Superhuman at the bottom and start getting them out on Facebook. I mean, that's kind of one of my many ideas.
Talents. Yeah. I was thinking when you're saying you're the only one who knows how to do that.
I say we all the time. I think it's something that changes, because even in my videos, when I'm doing aerokinesis or I'm doing demonstrations and showing people how to connect, I say we. I've looked at my videos, and in all my videos, I'm saying we. Because
we're living in that unity consciousness. Yes. We're living in that win-win world where everybody is us and we are everybody.
That's right. Yeah.
There's no more I. It's like me.
Yeah.
I'm not. We're doing this.
It's the UNITY.
I go back to Michael Rice's on the ancient Aramaic, that heaven in the Aramaic is the community of love here and now. And when I think about, I think about you guys as my posse doing these shows, and, and then Biggie and Mel and everybody that's part of CCN in India. Yes. And that is on the back of the book, Love, Christed Consciousness. It is
Ark
the hologram, and it's the flower of life and the Star of David overlaid over each other.
The star tetrahedron.
Yep. Matrix of creation.
Yep.
All right. So here is a quote by Nellie Kane, who was one of Teddy, my contributing author's early teachers. She's been long gone from the planet. Really cool old lady, a lady who wrote Exploring the Mysteries of Life, and she actually channeled the Ascended Masters way back when. Our social and economic structures will crumble from their own decay, since they were not built upon spiritual foundations. And it says the same thing in the scrolls, actually. Greed.
There's actually a quote in here from the scrolls that I wondered, because you did a rewrite after you found the scrolls, right?
I did.
Because you put the strange culture of gold on the page, and I thought, wow, did she precog that, or did that?
No, it was in the, I did the re-editing after Peru last year.
We're going to have to do a show on the scrolls. We keep saying that, but
very much so. Yeah. Actually, I've been communicating with the guys in Peru to see if they could be on the show with us.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Isn't that rock?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So greed, lust, and power were their underpinnings, and they will fall into the dust of destruction before the new edifice be raised. The world must be transmuted. The new cosmic vibration of the earth will be greatly intensified, and we must raise our frequency in accordance. That which does not vibrate in harmony with the new cosmic vibration will simply disintegrate. The old order was built upon the premise that man's strength gave him license to exploit his brother. The new age will bring the realization that all are brothers and sisters in one spiritual community and must be equally respected and revered. Some will panic as they as they find themselves in sorry.
I was gonna take over reading for you on the last paragraph, and then
please do. Go ahead. I would love to give my voice a rest.
Well, actually, I just lost where you're at. So where are you? You're on the quote, right? Nellie Kane quote. Okay, some will panic as they find themselves involved in chaos where material possessions are stripped from their grasp, at which we will all find ourselves there if we don't let go of putting that over what's important. All who have been possessed by their possessions will find themselves stripped of possessions, but those who realize the possessions are loaned and to be used for the good of all, will be able to have and use material goods. Absolutely true. As those of us who were stripped of our possessions can attest to.
Yeah, I mean, I felt there was like an all knowing, like I had like purged myself of all my stuff a few times in my life
Yeah.
for some reason. I don't know. It must have been just my natural sense to do it, but I did it throughout my life, and people always thought I was weird for doing it. But literally, about a year ago, I got rid of all my stuff again, and it was just amazing. I was just like, I don't need any of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I literally isolated my stuff down to like one little room of things, and it's so nice.
Doing it voluntarily is so much more pleasant than being pushed into it, but it's the same lesson. Like, it's just a lesson that's got to be learned.
Yeah. I mean, it's why one of the great teachers said, sell all your stuff and, let's go on the road.
Right. And it's the same as the other lessons. If you're not learning the lessons, you're not taking responsibility for your mistakes and your demons and your old paradigm being and doing, where everything's always constantly out of balance, and your relationships are out of balance, your being and doing in general is out of balance in the world. Until you fix all of that stuff, you will be stripped of your relationships, you will be stripped of everything that is out of balance.
Well, the thing is too, and I was talking about this at the workshop today, is in this modern materialistic culture, at least in the Western world, we're so sucked into that, I need another one of these, I need this or that, and it's really a trap. It's a trap that you never escape from, unless, I think, making that decision. I've done the same money. I've done the same thing, Ken, giving away everything, more than once, like, accumulate, and then it's just all gone. I mean, right now my possessions fit in like 3 bags and 3 boxes, but
you don't need them when you're living in the toroidal flow of energy exchanges.
That's right.
It just provides for you, and you ask and it is given, and so you don't need to hoard anymore when you're living on that frequency.
That is, and I think that I was thinking about that after I left the workshop today. I was thinking how it is what allows us to live this way is recognizing how abundant the universe is, recognizing that the source field is continually flowing, continually creating, that we've always got access to what we need, and it can be supplied. And I think all of us experience that. I mean, sometimes we're just like sitting there going, come on, but at the same time, I think by the time our needs are there, there's usually something that comes through and meets them. I mean, it's very cool.
I mean, I can attest to that. I mean, I'm definitely in like and I'm kind of going after it pretty hard as far as like what I'm doing, but literally I've been able to manifest money to just keep me going in a situation. I even was working at this place kind of seasonally after the summer for a few months, and then just recently got laid off, and I only worked there for like maybe 6 or 8 weeks. So just around Christmas time. But it was funny how just once I got out of that, I'm still able to just kind of, my needs are being met, and I'm in this real place of like having to trust and allow and realize that I'm in this flow, and I'm learning how to manifest the abundance, on a greater level, but kind of just, tiptoeing along. And it really starts off easy. You're not just going to jump in and just have it knock out. You have to learn how to live this way and how to develop this.
And you have to trust and that you have the ability to do it. And then also, just like with your subconscious programming, when you're getting feedback that something's out of balance because you're all giving and no receiving, like you're putting all this energy out and you're not getting any energy back, well, something's out of balance there, and you need to address where the energy exchange is getting blocked, and why it's getting blocked, and where the re-education needs to come in, either with you or the people you're exchanging energy with, or both in most cases. So that's an important thing, and we'll talk about that too with the universal laws as well, because that is the new paradigm, and it's so far outside of the old way of thinking of how we've exchanged energy before that it's really going to be up to us to be constantly having the conversation so that people are keeping it in their awareness that this is the new way of doing things.
Do you want to read more, Kami, or?
Yeah, then I can finish it.
Okay.
We are unraveling insanity of corporate interests of the strange culture of gold at the crumbling foundation of governments, religion, nationalism, and banking systems. It requires shining the spotlight inward to see what is inside us, generating the frequency in our reality. As we do so, it becomes clear what old thoughts and emotions we need to let go of to shift old paradigm thinking and our world to love. More on that in the coming chapters. We change our cultural structure and dynamic one person at a time. As each of us gets it, I kind of wrote over all that. We make small changes that grow into bigger societal changes based on the truth of our being, love. To what extent we embrace this is up to each of us. That's the free will. That's the free willy game. Some of us are ready before others to seek flowing existence in harmony with self, one another, and the earth. There is more going on right now than changing our thinking. Cosmic influences are afoot, and quantum reality is shaking it up. Boy, is it ever. We need enlightenment. Oh, this is the Thich Nhat Hanh quote. You want to say something, Ken?
No, I was just saying, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, you can measure that too. We're not making this stuff up. Just go pay attention to the oceans and what they're doing if you think the cosmos isn't pushing and pulling on us. We need enlightenment. Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Zen Buddhist monk, and I'm sure most of you have heard of him, teacher, author, poet, peace activist. We need enlightenment, not just individually, but collectively to save the planet. We need to awaken ourselves. We need to practice mindfulness if we want to have a future, if we want to save ourselves and the planet. Shift of the ages is about shedding outmoded thinking off the mark for thousands of generations, being replaced with thought compatible with our true design of love. The cosmos is focusing a perfect alchemical moment upon us like a tractor beam, triggering us naturally to wake up like kids, transformers, morphing into an empowered and versatile state of being in response to life, moving beyond competition to mutual well-being. Yep, if you're not living in the win-win of energy exchanges, you're about to get left in the dust. We are all becoming universal humans. Oh, this is Barbara Marx Hubbard, life coach to presidents and Fortune 500 executives. And I wrote over a foundation for conscious evolution. We are becoming universal humans, connected from within by the same process of creation, awakened to our heart's desire to give our greater gift to the world. This humanity is rising everywhere. Now we are connecting heart with heart and soul with soul to shift from fear to love, rising as one planetary community. Yep. So my thoughts on all of that, like the vision of the future that I have on all of that, is that we're going to be able to trust every stranger we come across the same way we trust our most trusted family and friends. If we're lucky enough to have those kinds of people in our lives where you just know you can count on them, they'll never do you wrong, they'll always do right by you, they'll have your back. Like, that's what it's going to be like with every person you meet. So your family, instead of the whole blood is thicker than water and bros over hose and all of this hierarchy nonsense that we have these loyalties to certain people over another, is going to disintegrate, and the whole of humanity will become that family to you, that you won't just ignore a child starving or a stranger on the street in need. You'll treat them as if they are your brother and sister, because you'll recognize them as a facet of yourself and the connectedness of all things. Like, you wouldn't leave yourself starving on the street. So why is it okay for you to drive by that person suffering and just act like it's not happening?
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, I've experienced it just with the people I've met over the recent year, is that you come across these people that have kind of coming into this state of consciousness, and you sense a trustness of this bond. Even if you haven't even known these people for so long, it's like you already know they're like family, or like a soul family. And so it's really the way, as more people start to awaken to their true senses, it's like, everywhere is going to become like a long lost friend reunion. Strangers you see in the story, you'd be like, oh, it's just going to be all of this kind of, and you see it once you shift your reality. You see that you come into contact with people, and there's, people that I've met that are like so close to me now, and and it's just like out of the blue. So it really gets tangible.
Yeah, that whole dog eat dog thing is completely dissolving. And then from there, from being a human family, we'll move into oneness with all things. It won't just be, your species. It'll be every species in the universe, plant, animal, vegetable, mineral.
Oh yeah, I think that's the way to it too, is getting out into nature and connecting and realizing that, everything is sentient. And as crazy as it sounds, go outside, sit by a tree and have a conversation with a tree.
Be the tree.
Seriously, be the tree, go out there and use your imagination and get quiet and just imagine, just like you were a kid. All of us, some of us have retained our imaginations, which are good, but we all had these most magnificent imaginations when we were a kid. You'd be daydreaming in school or looking out the window, totally somewhere else. And we really need to get back to that childhood. One of my good friends loved snow when they were kids, started to hate snow, and now has come back into the love of snow. And that's just the returning of that child, that sense of, awakening that child space in you, that unconditional love, trusting of everyone, no fear. I have my mom used to say, oh my gosh, you were crazy. You had no fear. You would do anything. Nothing would stop you, and you would never get hurt. And yeah, it's because that's the place we need to be from, that no fear, that childlike space. I don't know how any other word to describe.
Childlike abandon.
Yeah, you just get back to that innocence and that child and that excitement, and that joy comes up, I have young kids, so I experience this aspect of childhood, and it reminds me all the time of that this is where we need to get back to, is this childlike, I don't know. It's just that, that whole innocence of that nothing's really going to affect.
It's the return to innocence.
Yeah. Yep. I actually bring that up in the workshops a lot. When I'm asking people to recognize getting in touch with their hearts, I say, where's that little kid that you were, when you were 3 or 4 years old? And some of them kind of, they begin to be able to access it. And the truth is that, recognition that happens, I think the more we get into our heart, I notice I can walk into anywhere now and just say hello to someone with love, and I have a true connection with that other being. And
you just want to start skipping and laughing and you don't even have to be in a room with anybody else. Just like when you're a kid, it's like the world outside of you doesn't matter. It's just a good, pleasant day. You can have fun staring at clouds, and it's just crazy like that when you start reconnecting to that part of yourself. It's
coming out of the prison.
It is.
Hundreds of thousands of years of humanity being...
The governors are coming off, and when the children are raised without those governors put on them in the first place, they're going to be able to connect to these superhuman abilities way easier than we are, because we're having to deprogram and clean up the corrupt data to get back to there. But imagine if you're never planted with the corrupt data in the first place. You can literally sit down, if you know your real energetic, true, eternal essence, and just dematerialize and go hang out on Venus for the day. Like, that's
there you
what's
go.
coming.
I'm ready.
Yep, me too. There's
Kami,
doing it.
Thanks for reading.
No, I know. I honestly meant to take over like way before that, and then I just kept forgetting.
It's a relief to my voice just at this moment. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna send you some honey drops. I love those drops that have like the liquid honey in the center of them. Okay. All control, judgment, fear, blame, hostility. Oh, let go of all control, judgment, fear, blame, and hostility. Laugh, breathe, and smile. Let life flow from the heart, joyful, loving, no time, creative, smiling, growing, laughing, playing, and blending. Let go of the generational patterns too. What a revolution for all on earth to do this. Another Nellie B. King quotes, time is not measured in days and hours as you know it, but according to the plan and its outworking. It is hoped by the hierarchy that much destruction can be averted if man can be brought quickly enough into the new awareness. If humanity can be awakened and transmute their hates, greeds, and intolerances before the new planetary vibrations are in full control, they can function in the new vibration without experiencing the impact of it as a destructive force. And that's what we were talking about, the undertow. So the more in alignment with the vibrations that the planet is shifting into as a whole, the easier things are going to be for you. The less in alignment with them you are, the harder they're going to get for you. So, if you're looking for a peaceful, blissful, joyful, clear, fun existence, you're really going to have to start doing the inner work, because it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse the more you try to hold on to what is and the old way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
These conditions are not being visited upon mankind as a punishment, but are the natural consequences of planetary progression, which also brings a new vibrational level in which hate, animosity, and material conscience can have no place. The old falls off its own weight, and those who are trapped in it will experience the chaos of it. But those who arise in love and light will know that it is the great plan, and that they will let love reign in the new order. And that's another conversation we've been trying to bring these groups who are kind of responsible for helping the shift in a more meaningful way. Is, you don't win the war on terrorism or win the war on drugs, or, you don't heal by focusing on the disease alone. You heal by focusing on the things that cause healing. You don't get skinny by focusing on how fat you are. Like, this is that things will just naturally fall off when you focus on what it is you're wanting to create.
Mm-hmm.
We offer you a map, and as Tony Robbins used to tell us, the map is not the territory. The territory lies ahead, where we will learn practical skills for living a quantum lifestyle, activated by wonderful supernatural influences of our now. We are being molded and shaped into what saints and sages of old represent as they tread this path before us, showing the way to inner peace, trusting all is well with the world, breathing and smiling all the way, as we now return to our true design, love. Final quote by Carl Sagan. Probably the most well-known. Listen to my voice now. I've been enjoying in this void, staying in silence and stillness a ton. Like, the frenetic energy is just not congruent with the void, and we're still on the precipice of coming out of that. Okay, so Carl Sagan, American astronomer, Pulitzer Prize winner, and just cosmos badass. For small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love. I mean, I just love it when respectable people get it and share it. And, like, why aren't all those quotes in our freaking history books?
Yeah. Well, it's really fun to listen to somebody else read this.
I know it is. I enjoy it every time I'm not doing it. We're going to make you read, Ken. Don't laugh too hard.
I don't mind.
You heard that? Okay.
What do you think about delving into the universal laws a little bit?
I think my stuff almost just fell on top of me. I don't know. It's a topic that could get us carried away.
Well, it could get us carried away. It's true.
What time? What do we got for time?
We're already past the 90-minute mark, so
yeah.
I'd really like to just break it up into Friday and Sunday. You went into some of the different universal laws. You didn't cover all of the universal laws because it's such a big topic. So I'd like to get even deeper than you got into it.
We can break it up into conversations and get pretty.
Like let's pick it apart, and that's what we're here to do, is give people the tools. And we haven't really talked about these tools in a cohesive, succinct. It's all been sprinkled about different shows, and we haven't even covered them all. And it's a perfect time because we're all getting guided to really start introducing the whole new true value energy exchange, giving and receiving thing that's coming about. Because even when the financial reset happens, until we understand how all this works outside of the strange culture of gold. I mean, we're working within it now, but when wealth is just abundance is just what is on the planet, we're going to be learning how to exchange energy in different ways. And I think this is a perfect time to introduce that into the conversation, because the universal laws support all of that stuff.
It was interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think I ended up having this real big flash as I was leaving the workshop today, and I had about an hour drive home. And I was thinking about how, I started talking in this workshop about us transitioning into a system beyond money. And I think that's I remember when I first heard that concept, which was maybe a year ago, and my brain just went, what? Like, how could that even be possible? And it took me a while of reading about it, being exposed to Michael Tellinger's stuff and other, different kind of contributionism systems. But I began really integrating it and adapting to it. But I think really tied in with that is the idea that, because the scrolls talk a lot about the collapse of the civilization of gold, because this civilization is based on putting value on something outside of ourselves. And that was the flash that I had. Is that
and even when we're putting value on things not outside of ourselves, we're still doing it wrong, because we're putting value on things that have a university degree attached to them, or like all the time and energy that we spent into accumulating this knowledge and accumulating this level of self-mastery has value. But up until recently, we've all just been looking at it as a thing that we're supposed to give away, and it's just our service to humanity, and it is that. But also in this transitional time period, when people don't find value in things that they don't have to pay for, it's become a little bit of a quagmire of how to really deal with, on the one hand, we have to honor and respect ourselves and our own true value. And on the other hand, we really just want everything to be free and just completely sell ourselves out in a sense. And that's why this is a big conversation, because when the paradigm changes, we won't be selling ourselves out. But while the paradigm is the way it is, we really have to honor keeping it in balance. And it's a tricky little tightrope walk that we're on right now.
Like you and I are kind of talking about two slightly different things here, because I think, one of the things you're addressing is how there does need to be an exchange. And I really talk to people about that a lot today as well. If people are kind of, there's so much that needs to be done on the planet, and many people who've stepped out onto the front lines and to step into the heart and begin leaving behind the old matrix system and begin doing some of these things. And so for those who are just continuing in the old system, they've not been able to break away from it yet, or not seen it being their time to break away, to be able to contribute something in exchange for the effort that's being put in.
And it doesn't have to be money, just it has to be some kind of offering.
It could be anything from...
It could be your time, your energy, your support and appreciation. Like whatever feels balanced is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and all of that is super important. And we're working on setting up ways at our website so people can have a list of ways that they can contribute to us. And I think that's really... really important.
Yeah, you have to engage the energies to really receive everything that you're wanting to receive from them. Just being on the sidelines and trying to absorb information that you're not really engaging in any meaningful way is going to affect your experience. It'd be like taking a class that you're not paying for and don't have to show up for. You're not going to learn as much, and your soul is inspiring you to show up with these conversations for a reason. And so, we're going to get into all of that later.
Yeah, you took those words right out of my mouth, Kami, with the fact that, when you actually put some sort of current, your energy into something, you're going to value it more, and it's going to allow you to tap into that. But, it's really about, what do you want to support? What do you want to get behind? What do you want to give some of your current or your energy or your current to help support, to help carry forward, to reach more people, and to be bigger and grower and feel like
right. You can be part of like the growing of being able to reach more people in humanity, you know, like you, instead of just sitting back and watching other people do something meaningful, contribute your, like you said, your energy, your currency. There's that quantum grammar thing again, and actually be a part of it becoming a force to influence the collective. Like, talk about being satisfied. That's how you get satisfied, is by doing meaningful stuff. So
yeah, and we pour our money into so many wild things, so many things that have low vibrational frequency.
I know. And that's why it's like a dead end. It's like it's feeding a heroin addiction. You gotta feed more and more to get the return back. Whereas if you just shift the way you're exchanging energy, you could give $1 into something like this network that's actually feeding something meaningful, and get 10 times the feedback from the universe, and how you're feeling satisfied with that energy exchange. Like,
your return is going to be greater.
Yeah, your return on investment. Exactly.
That has a greater return, you know, because it's really all about energy. And, you know, it's kind of a play on words, current, currency. Well, our language and our words are so backwards in what we're actually caught in with our language. So, you know, you can linguists and look at how it's structured to, you know, I don't know. There's a lot we can go into.
It's a big conversation, but you know, it's time to start having it, I think. And it's like you said, it's not even just about money. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done in this shift, and this building this new paradigm. And we need all the talents, skills, gifts, and abilities everybody has to offer. And if the only thing you can manage to offer in this level of your evolutionary leap is $1, that's something, you know, that is something. And that's going to it's going to transform the energies that you're receiving back.
It's like we're moving into a phase, and it's all hands on deck, you know. We all need to get on board and put our extra time and put our energy into something that we want to come forth. Meaningful, something we want to see manifest, see change what's going on.
This is, I think, the quagmire that we're stuck in right now. And I was seeing it on people's faces today too, because people who are still in conventional society are struggling. You know, there's not enough paycheck at the end of the week, as they always say. Once people are done paying taxes and paying for debts and buying all the materialistic things they think they need, you know, there's still not enough. And so there's this suffering going on. But this epiphany I kind of had today is, it's really a false reality to place, as you said, Kami, even a degree, or to place a monetary value on my value as a being. Mm-hmm. There is no, it's a total untruth. It's a falsehood that's been built because I am a value as
for being
just a creative flow of the expression of the cosmos.
And if you're in alignment with your soul intelligence and your intrinsic human genius, you're of more value than somebody who's maybe got, you know, 5 different degrees from 5 different Ivy Leagues who are only working for the benefit of themselves. And, you know, on a fundamental level, we're all of the same value. But while we're in this transition, while we're on this bridge to paradise, we have to start consciously paying it forward and consciously paying into those things that we want to start seeing more of.
That's where I think it's so important. I think we've been in this discussion a lot, and I think it's that every individual starts seeing, how can I contribute with my energy to participating in this change? And it may be writing up a review on Amazon for our 21st Century Superhuman book. It may be going and visiting the ministry site. It may be donating money at our website. It may be giving up Starbucks a couple days.
It may be buying It may be buying a book and taking it to someone who's on the precipice of getting their power back.
Telling friends.
Starting a discussion group, which just happened recently.
And we've actually,
what I think is really the key that's missing here is, as long as the feedback that's coming from the collective is this guy who has the 5 degrees is of more value than this person who's serving humanity, and therefore they should make more money, they should have more stuff, it's deciding where right now, while everything's all screwed up, deciding that person should be the millionaire while the other person should be doing everything for free, because that's not recognized as a skill set. Serving humanity and saving the world is not really a skill set, but growing wealth and hoarding it is valued and rewarded in this culture. So we have to change the way we're rewarding things in this 3D world for it to actually shift out of that mentality. And that's kind of where we're at right now, is we have to start re-educating people on what is worthy of rewards and what is an illusion.
And that is kind of a reset that's got to be going on in our minds for what really does have value. And the value that comes in when we begin listening to our hearts, we begin aligning with that as a life path, or even the desire to move out of the matrix a little bit.
Well, and don't you think they'll want to get out of the matrix when the person who's getting rewarded is the artist who's just bringing forth their human genius, rather than the one who's building their wealth and not sharing it with people? Like when the collective shifts and says, oh, this guy, the whole GoFundMe and Indiegogo and all of these things that are happening where someone's got a brilliant idea and they're getting funded by the population rather than getting government grants or, you know, getting corporations to fund them. When these people that are stuck in this old world paradigm start recognizing that that's not the way they're going to get rich anymore, that in order to get rich, in order to get wealthy, in order to have all the things that they want in life, they're actually going to have to step into this new paradigm of service and of good for all. And, you know, when that starts becoming the reward factor, nobody will ever choose those things because they're only choosing them for the illusion of money. They're not choosing them because it feels good to be a dog eat dog on top of the pyramid kind of guy.
When you step into like your whole creator role and start being like, people see that creatorship is being rewarded, you'll see a whole shift. And it's already starting to shift where people, you've noticed these ideas and these things that people have successful. There's even a burger joint that's out west that's an all veggie burger joint that's just kind of exploding in Oregon and California right now, that is really kind of off the chain from what everything's going on, but it's having like a lot of success right now. So, you know, and that's a totally vegan burger restaurant, you know, it's just like, you know, it's just an idea that people had, you know, and there's all these ideas that are in.
So in the metaphor of all of that stuff that we're talking about, where artists and bands and different things are getting funded by, you know, humanity rather than going to a corporation and signing a record deal or whatever, this network, this television network, is probably more worthy than your cable provider, is what we're saying. So, you know, and nobody's asking for money on this network yet, but it's becoming a point of, you know, while we're learning how to exchange energy, until people start showing their appreciation, you know, sign up and start doing some marketing or do whatever. Just, you know, like paying your cable company is a vote for that reality being the wanted reality. Whereas, you know, paying for an alternative media or an alternative whatever, new paradigm, a vegan burger restaurant, whatever it is, you start voting with your dollars and with the way that you're exchanging energy. And that's just the way it's going to be for a little while. So
there's a lot you can do with your energy and what you're putting that focus in. And I mean, it's just, I don't know, the fact that, you know, you could be watching this kind of network with these kind of discussions rather than turning on your television, which is literally, and watching like a regular news broadcast, which is totally
getting disempowered. You're paying them to disempower you. You might as well start smoking.
You know, all these just crazy hallucinations and I mean, it's just like spraying black spray paint on your third eye. It's a great analogy. I can't remember who said that, but I think that's something that you shared with me, Carrie. And it is just
Bill Hicks.
Yeah, there you go. And it's just profound because it really is. And no matter what you're watching, I don't care if you're watching news or you're watching reality shows or whatever, when you really break down, I mean, people could do a whole research, really look at the TV programs that you're watching and break down really what's being put across. I mean, what? You shouldn't be watching this stuff. Stop watching it. I mean, it's one of my things. It's just like, I don't have a television. Don't watch television. You should be watching stuff like, you know, the programs that are coming out with CCN. I mean, they have great content, and these are good things. There's so many different avenues.
You know, I love when people talk about they're watching this stuff because it's like watching a car accident, and they're like just sitting there shaking their head like, I can't believe that this is on television. And I'm looking at them like, this is on television because people like you are watching it. Like, don't you understand? You're creating this. If you weren't watching it and you weren't sitting here shaking your head in amazement that somebody put this on television, it wouldn't be on television. There's a supply and demand thing going on here, and you're demanding it.
Here's another thing we talk about in 21st Century Superhuman, which is really we only use 10% of our brain, and really we have 97% junk DNA. I mean, there's a problem with that. You know, it's because we agreed to allow ourselves to kind of literally shut down over time because we weren't operating in love. Ken, you seem to have frozen. Maybe he got disconnected.
No, I got a notification.
Oh, did you? So anyway,
I don't know why Zoom allows that to override. It's weird.
So you know, the fact that we're continually that as a society, television is such a big part of people's lives, and we're sitting here with this programming that is limiting how we think, how we express ourselves, and yet here we are on CCN with 3 million viewers in the month of January, the first month from 30 countries around the world. Yeah. Let's wake up those brain cells. Let's wake up that DNA. It's time to do the new kind of programming and to support that.
And feel good about what you're supporting, because these people that are sitting back watching these reality shows and judging these people for how messed up they are, well, you're contributing to that creation. So what makes you any better than them? You're watching them like they're entertainment of some sort. Something inside of you finds that entertaining. So how far away from them are you really in your realities? You know, like, so stop sitting back and judging them and looking at yourself and what you're feeding yourself with. If you're eating fast food and blaming the fast food companies for making you fat, that's just ridiculous. It's the same as the cigarette smoking. You're paying a company to kill you, and then you're all like shocked and freaked out when you find out that they're actually intentionally trying to kill you and make you addicted. Like, it's madness.
Oh yeah, time for a reset. So we've got just a couple of minutes left. Oh, Ken came back on and he's disappearing again.
He looks like Neo in the Matrix. Like, stop. He's dropping bullets.
Yep. So Friday we'll go ahead and do.
We'll start this. Mm-hmm.
I totally, my phone just went crazy. All my battery sucked up. Just as we were talking, did I totally fade out?
Yeah. I had to buy a new cord when I started using the phone app, because the cord I had was draining faster than the 2-hour shows that we were on.
That has to be what's going on, because my computer's got this crazy virus like about a week ago. So I've been doing everything off my phone, and it just literally was like, it just dropped. I was like, man, that's wild. Yeah,
you got to upgrade your cord. The phone app is great, but it's not quite as good as the computer one, but it's still better
I'm just going to manifest $300 to fix my computer.
Yes, you will. Have no doubt you will.
Have no doubt.
I will say lots of love to all, and let us all just keep on this path of the 21st Century Superhuman level of mastery in this dimension of time and space, where we're listening to our hearts, we're breathing and smiling, and we're activating our superpowers, our superhuman superpowers.
Yep. Yes. All right. Love you. See you in days or so.
Adios.
See ya.